Hello, film fans. Welcome to the Film vs. Film podcast. My name is Martin Harries, your host. I'm a filmmaker on occasion, but mainly can't stop yapping about movies. On this podcast, every episode, I pick a topic from a film that's coming out at the cinema or on streaming. I pick a favourite film from that topic and battle it out against a guest to decide which film would become the greatest film of all time. If you enjoy this podcast, please leave us a 5-star review and subscribe. Please enjoy part 2. Hello, welcome back to the podcast, part 2, where we are talking the legend that is Patrick Swayze films. And of course, this is the part of the show where we have a look at your Instagram responses from the previous episode. And that previous episode was Christmas horror movies. And the revisionist almanac, always a tongue twister, went with Black Christmas. Anton Kinelov went with Black Christmas as well. I think a lot of people's go-to. One of Us is Bored went with Black Christmas. And she also didn't even have to Google. And Spoil My Movie went with the perfect choice of Home Alone. I am intrigued, guys. What is your Christmas horror film of choice, and did you have to Google it in the break?
Dwayne, you want to go first? Me first?
Yeah,
okay,
I did have to Google it.
I did not have to Google it, but
Good.
There's a couple. It just depends on what you're thinking. I mean, Black Christmas is iconic, and probably what my answer would more or less be. But at the sake of like adding something different.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of Krampus and Gremlins. But yeah, and then if you want to go the Home Alone route, you do, was it Rare Exports? The one where...
Yeah, I chose that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was Rare Exports versus Gremlins. So.
Yeah. No, Krampus
Very weird film, Rare Exports.
Yeah, it's very strange, and I love it. And then there's that one other one where it's the kid. It's like it came out before Home Alone, but it was French, I think, and it was. I've only seen it once. It was all right, but no, yeah. I mean, Black Christmas is just the original one. You know, it's just iconic, and there's so much stuff in that movie that has become like quintessential slasher stuff that people don't give it as much credit.
Yeah. This was before like Halloween, John Carpenter's Halloween, so a lot of people don't realize that. I don't think.
Yeah,
so.
I think it was 70, maybe 72, something like that.
Yeah,
and Halloween was 78.
Yeah,
I think
something
so.
like that.
Yeah, but yeah, no, Krampus is really fun. We that has become a yearly tradition with me and my wife.
Oh, cool. So, Dwayne,
I'm not a huge horror fan, but
okay,
of course, Gremlins, but. I
Gremlins
actually
too?
liked the Violent Night. It came out a couple of years ago.
Oh yeah,
I like kind of their spin on like who Santa is. Like he was like this Viking guy and stuff. It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
I believe that one's also a remake. There's several other. There's like 3 or 4 that I'm thinking of like serial killer guys who dress up like Santa. I think maybe I'm thinking of Silent Night, Deadly Night. Is what one of them was called or something.
Because this one, he is Santa, and he comes into this house to deliver presents, and there's bad guys there, and he takes care of them. So.
Oh wait, is that the one with David Harbour?
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that's not a remake.
Yeah, it's got some pretty cool action in that. Yeah, but this episode we are talking Patrick Swayze movies, and it is my guest's choice for this part. Guys, what is your choice for Patrick Swayze movies?
I mean, obviously, it's Roadhouse. Like that's you gotta go. I mean, I know that my wife wanted me to pick Dirty Dancing, which is a great film.
Yeah,
but no, it's Roadhouse.
Yeah, was it always Roadhouse or Dirty Dancing? Were there any other movies in contention for you guys?
I mean, like
Red Dawn, baby.
Red Dawn. That was the one that was the big one. That was his first movie, first big movie, and that was the one that I was like, "There's one that I'm missing." That was also the very first PG-13 movie to ever be released here in the States, because they didn't have PG-13 until 84, and it came out.
Okay.
Actually, partially because of Gremlins. They're like, Gremlins is
really?
not an R, but it's not a PG.
No.
And it's kind of disturbing, so we should have like done something else.
Yeah, we were kind of discussing that a little bit last time. Like, this has got some really kind of gnarly stuff in here.
Yeah.
It's like a PG.
Well, and then
Especially
that whole Phoebe Cates.
Her dad being dead in the chimney.
Phoebe Cates like saying that her dad, opens her wrists and stuff. I was like, another reason not to like Christmas. I was like, whoa, okay, that's dark.
Chase definitely picked this because, truth be told, this is the first time I watched it.
Right.
So
I can't believe that.
Nobody does, but
yeah, this is the first watch for me as well for Roadhouse. So, guys, what happens in Roadhouse? Brief synopsis.
Right. Yeah, so basically, you have this. Well, I guess I could just read it off of the IMDb, make it
That's
concise. A legendary bouncer comes to restore order to a notorious bar, but runs afoul of a ruthless crime boss who controls the town. But yeah, he's a famous bouncer, a cooler, if you will. He's so there's this crazy little roadhouse, hence the name, in a small town. I think it's like Tennessee or something. It's like in the South, I believe. The American South, and
definitely not the UK South, that's for sure.
So like it's a wild place. There's drugs going on all the time, and people are just always getting in fights. So they need it's hurting business. So they hire James Dalton, which is such a good name.
I was gonna say it's another good name.
Yeah, Patrick Swayze. He might have like a history of like some of the best names in film.
Yeah,
but he gets hired to come out there. He won't fly, so he has to drive his Cadillac or whatever down there.
And he'll be there.
Yeah, and it's once he gets there, he starts to do some good, and then he realizes there's more than just a rowdy group of customers in town that are trying to run him out of business, and things get real hairy, or as it says, run afoul. But yeah, he falls
with Brad Wesley.
He falls in love. The people all love him except for the bad guys. There's a great bear attack in it. Like there's so much so much awesome stuff. It's also iconic, and especially if you hadn't seen it, like there's things in this movie that you may not have known were from this movie. Like the Tai Chi on the beach.
Yeah.
Which so there's a lot going on. But yeah, it's a love story, it's an action story. You got Sam Elliott being a badass. I mean, obviously Patrick Swayze, again, a badass.
And showing too much of his trousers, as well.
Yeah. And it's one of the it's a real Peen to Gene movie. Where like you could tell, it's sort of the shorthand, like if somebody has an iPhone, then they're not a villain, because like Apple won't let you use iPhones or Apple products if the person's bad. So in this movie, if your character wears underwear, you're a villain. If you don't wear underwear, then you're a hero. Because if you watch it, like, and I swear, like, watch it every single time somebody's taking off their pants and having sex with somebody, if it's like Patrick Swayze or Kelly Lynch, Dr. Elizabeth Clay, they don't wear underwear. But then all the bad guys got on them little whitey tighties. I don't know if that was on purpose or not, but I hope it was. Like that is a really good thing.
That is hilarious. Oh, that just makes this. I mean, the score's going up at least 1 point just for that now, in all categories. Yeah, initial reactions for me, I just thought this was super wild, so 80s. The hair is all over the place. It's just random boobage as well. I'm like, oh, okay, she's got her boobs out again. Yeah, I mean, this is a film of its time, and like you would never see this type of film made today. That's for sure. Not even close.
They did just remake it.
Yeah, I mean, they remade it, and that kind of brought it on my radar again. It was just really interesting, just hearing different people's opinions of that this new one, and was this necessary? And there was a lot of talk like, why was it not released in theaters? Blah blah blah.
Mm-hmm.
Why was this? I mean, of course, Point Break was remade as well. We didn't mention that, but which was really bad. Apparently,
it didn't need mentioning.
No, but yeah, this film has been remade as well, and I'm just like, why? I like Jake Gyllenhaal a lot, but it feels like a strange choice. But especially after seeing this one now, it just feels very wild and kind of iconic at times as well, with some of these fight scenes. But yeah, I really liked it in the end. I think I just like the fact that a lot of the stuff is kind of ridiculous. I just love the fact that they take big swings with the ridiculousness of what
no
they're
pun
going
intended.
for. Yeah. Yeah, no pun intended. Yeah, I really like this film. Such a fun time. Dwayne, what's your initial reactions to this one?
I actually enjoyed this one. Again,
Yeah.
I don't know why I hadn't watched it. I don't know why it was never on my radar, but you mentioned the Tai Chi. Was he a martial artist, or did he just do that for this? Because he kind of fights martial arts style too during the fight scene. And I know he's a dancer.
Yeah, he was a dancer, and I believe he was some sort of accomplished. I don't know
martial artist.
If it was Tai Chi or not, but yeah, I mean, he does a lot of stage combat. He does, he was one of those guys who like to do as much of his own stuff as possible, like we talked about in Point Break as well. And because I think Sam Elliott has talked about it, that like all of the actors in this did their own stunts, and actors are not always, especially if they're not like stage trained, they're not always the best at missing. And so like I got the shit kicked out of me in one take, and I got pissed.
But this does have all the tropes of a movie of that era, though. You get the blonde love interest, the heartthrob, that just cool, calm, and collected. I almost felt this was like another like Rambo kind of movie in the end too. You know what I mean? Like, one dude comes to the town and kind of fixes it.
Yeah, I mean, this has got like Western tropes written all over it for me, but it's just set in the 80s. That's the only difference, Right. There's so many kind of like Clint Eastwood type movies that just feel like this, a drifter coming into town, this, big shot that's kind of owns the town and treating the town like shit. Clint Eastwood tidies up, This is exactly like that. So directing then. So the fight scenes are kind of fine, I think, in the beginning, like nothing special, but I think they kind of need to be. I think tonally it would just feel off if the fight scenes had like great choreography to them. It just, wouldn't feel real or grounded. At the end of the day, these guys are not trained fighters, but saying that, like, the film doesn't like skimp on like the violence and brutality. Like, you can definitely feel like the punches and the kicks happening. You can feel that pain, but also like that scene. There's a scene when Dalton visits Brad Wesley about halfway through, and he sees Denise, Julie Michaels' character. She has quite like graphic bruises on her face where like Brad Wesley has clearly hit her. So I kind of like the rough and messy and brutal quality this film has in the film, with a film that's got pretty low stakes, I would say. So yeah, I do like the tone that this film establishes, for sure.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. And I also I did look it up just now, and Patrick Swayze was trained by a professional kickboxer for this film. So, but like you said, he's a dancer, so he got, and he was in shape, so he could get it. He picked it up quite well. But like, that's why he's one of the only ones who's like the fighter, right? Everything else, like you're saying, is very barroom brawl kind of stuff, which makes it feel, not more real. That makes me sound really stupid. It makes it feel real.
Yeah.
And a little more brutal, so. But
I think that's why it works though too, is because like when he gets in there, he's just like doom 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 done.
Yeah.
Like he's like, I
get out.
The other guys, they're just throwing fists. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and they can't touch him. Plus, he's also the only one who's not a drunk. Like, he's not drunk.
Yeah.
Which always makes it a little easier to fight someone.
Yeah. But I mean,
the
like,
sober one.
With the fights, though, it's not always like about like the brutality and stuff. Like, there's definitely humor and comedy in there for sure with the fights. Like, even with like the first proper one with where he's just watching this mass brawl happen.
Yeah.
For me, that just took me straight back to some of these kind of comedy westerns sometimes where just a fight breaks out randomly and the whole bar gets trashed. Definitely brought me back to that. And then certainly the scene when like Sam Elliott turns up to save the day when there's too many guys for Dalton to take down and he turns up. You know, there's definitely like a humorous tone through that fight scene in particular as well. So I like how, you know, a tone is established, but yeah, there's different levels of it in terms of the humor and brutality.
Especially with the whole thing of like, it's not like Swayze is showing off or Dalton, the character, is not like showing off as much as it's about putting the person down. You know, it's efficiency over, you know, Jackie Chan, like jumping over tables and, you know, playing with chairs and using all sorts of stuff and making it a big fight, you know, like it like, again, it makes it feel a little more real.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
And I like how they kind of showed Dalton's ability by the bar itself. When he shows up, they had that cage around the band.
Yeah.
And then later on, the cage is gone. It's painted. Like,
yeah.
It's like, oh, he's cleaning this place up.
Yeah. I kind of like the fact that they don't do like a stupid montage scene of them just developing up, you know, the bar. It just felt very gradual and yeah. I just quite like the simplicity and efficiency of that as well. Well, they didn't feel the need like, okay, you know, Dalton is trying to clean this place up. Let's put a montage in here to just progress the film. You know, they never felt like they needed to do that, which is good.
And they had a lot of opportunity because they had like all of the musicians in that film are real accomplished musicians. I mean, John Healy, the blind,
that was the actual
musician.
Band.
Yeah. And then the other band is, I forget what the name of that band is, but the lead guitarist and I think singer is the guy who started Tito Tarantula, which is the band that they ended up being in Dusk Till Dawn, from Dusk Till Dawn.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, they're a Tejano rock band.
Right. Awesome. I love the scene where like Red's store gets blown up and the explosion is like really impressive actually and like a lot better than most action explosions of today for me. But then like Dalton and co come back into the Double Deuce and Wesley and his boys are there. And you think a fight is going to break out and, you know, pretty quickly. But I liked the fact that Wesley does a sort of power move by sending Denise to dance on the stage to Elvis. Like, Wesley is in complete control here. Like, Dalton manages to get her down off the stage by kind of being not really embarrassed, but yeah, you know, she throws her dress on him. But then, like, when Wesley, like, calls Jimmy, played by Marshall R. Teague, he does all these kind of like ninja moves with a pole cue and has a pretty brutal fight with Sam Elliott. That was pretty good for me. But then all the while, like, Wesley is just sat there, cool as a cucumber, you know, completely unfazed. There's just some pretty tight like shots on him, like intercut throughout the fight to just give him that kind of big bad quality. Then he just like fires his gun off in the air to stop the fight. Like, he's just bored now and just wants to get home. So I love the scene just to show like how powerful Wesley is, kind of just how formidable this guy is to this town and to Dalton himself. So yeah, that was a good scene for me.
Oh yeah. I
mean,
mean,
it's strange because they didn't use like he's not like a big guy that looks very intimidating or anything, but somehow he has control of this town, and
yeah,
they're kind of showing why. You know?
Yeah, he's just very scary.
Yeah.
Which, like, that's part of it, you know, because he's got some big guys in his crew or whatever. But like, it's always scarier when like there's a bunch of big dudes, and they're just like they're like, don't fuck with that guy. And like he's like this big, you know, he's like 5 foot tall, and you're just like, what the fuck does he do, man? He's gonna kick some ass. That guy must be insane.
By the way, how much do you love that they drive around town in a Bigfoot
Yeah.
truck?
Well, the monster truck.
Yeah, the monster truck.
Yeah, when that showed up, I was like, "Yep, I am in for this movie to the end."
Like, who
I just love the fact that he literally just destroys. I don't know what you call it, the car dealership.
Car dealership, yeah.
Yeah.
It just runs over all the cars. Yeah.
That scene was awesome. Kind of long too. Like, it wasn't like he just went through the thing. It took a little time.
Yeah.
Well, it's probably because they were like, this is going to cost a lot of money. We're going to get our out of the. We're going to get
we
the
only
shots
get one shot
crutch
at
of these
too,
cars.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, that was like, I don't know when like monster trucks and stuff really started, but I'm sure it was sometime in the 80s.
Probably right around there.
Yeah. So like, I bet that was part of like, oh, let's do this. Like, one of the producers.
We got some money left.
Yeah. I bet one of the producers was like, you know what I just saw? I saw these monster trucks smashing cars. We got to get that in the thing. And like the writer or director is just like, I mean, I don't know how we're going to fit that in there. You go, you're going to fit it in.
Yeah. Just drive it through this wall of glass and destroy all these cars. And we'll write it in later.
Like that truck's they drive it to the bar to go have a few beers and they drive to the grocery store. And, like, it's ridiculous, but awesome.
Yeah. You would not want to get drunk, though, to be fair, because it's like, how the hell are you supposed to get back in?
You got to climb. Well, climbing in probably is a lot easier than climbing out.
Yeah. Probably. For me, like, the last scene is, like, really interestingly directed because I think, on the whole, like, the direction of the film is fairly simply done with a few, added little bits of flair, especially in the action. And the actors do a lot of the work to establish, like, the different tones of the fights, I would say. But that last scene in Wesley's house, the direction really drives the scene for me. I love how it starts with, like, a big bang where like Dalton stabs the gas pedal down on this car and the car like drives right at the bad guys. But not only does it fly through the air, someone shoots at it and it explodes. That was insane and ridiculous. But I'm definitely here for it. Then in the house, like the bad guys are the hunted. Like Patrick Swayze is the one to be feared, not Wesley necessarily. Where there's like lots of like camera movement looking for Swayze in these little scenes. There's a great bit where he pops up out of nowhere and takes out that guy and kicks the knife in the air, catches it, and then stabs him. That was very cool. Very Blade-like, a movie we've covered recently. So good. Then the fight with like Wesley, I thought wasn't like amazing, but it definitely certainly has an emotional punch to it. Being the last one and the end, of course. But I loved how like all the townsfolk shoot him one by one. That was super satisfying to me and felt right for sure.
And you know it's a small town when the cops show up and they're like, "What happened here?" And they're like, "We don't know.
We don't know."
Yeah.
He must have slipped and fell.
Yeah. What are all those holes in his chest, though? Did you like that scene, Chase, at the end?
Yeah, it's awesome. And like I said, I love the stuffed bear that kills the big guy. When it falls on him.
Doesn't he say something to the cops?
Yeah.
Like, what happened? He
goes, polar bear fell on me.
So ridiculous. Actually, it was funny because when it fell on him, I'm like, that wouldn't have killed him. Like,
yeah,
then he showed up at the end.
It probably wouldn't feel good, but
no.
It'll at least trap you like it did. But
he didn't really want to fight anyways.
No.
Yeah. Have you guys got a favorite scene or shot, Chase?
Well, one thing that there's a movie Hot Rod that parodies it, and so many other ones do, but it is the Tai Chi on the beach. And one of the things that happens in Hot Rod is they add a third scene to it because they were like, every time we watch this movie, and if you watch it, it's true, right? So he's doing Tai Chi, and there's just some old man in a boat like going by behind him, right? And then the next time, the man is like leaving, but Patrick Swayze is just like covered in like baby oil, and so it's like, did the old man come and oil him up while he was doing the Tai Chi and then leave? So
plausible. It's a small town.
I love that. I always love a good Chekhov's gun. or as my wife says, Pavlov's gun, where he talks about like how he's like so damaged and he's just trying to be nice again or whatever because he had to rip a guy's throat out because he knows Tai Chi. And and he's like, I had to rip a guy's throat out, and he died. And really, did he die? He ripped his throat out, but he's like, I don't want to do it again. And then he does it, and it's just like so easy and just like so beautiful in that graphic way.
So good,
and it freaks out the doctor lady or two, and he's like, I told you.
Yeah,
that was the martial arts guy, right?
Yeah,
on the
Jimmy,
beach scene there.
Yeah, he had no choice.
Actually, I like that whole fight scene.
Oh,
and then even at the end, he just takes his body and like pushes it and starts yelling to Wesley.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just gonna push this across the pond back to you.
Yeah, that's my favorite scene as well. Because he's kind of feeling pretty low at this point in the film, in his apartment, in this farmhouse, and Kelly Lynch, the doctor, the love interest of the film, comes to see him, and you think it's going to be like this typical like heart-to-heart scene to try and make Dalton see sense, etc. But then all of a sudden, like the farmer's house blows up in another impressive explosion scene. How that happens, I don't know. I don't really care. It looked awesome. Then the action,
it's like you were saying, like it's a low stakes sort of thing, but it gets so high with like how much damage Wesley is causing in this town when he's losing.
By the way, I don't know how that old guy survived that explosion.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I don't know how there was a house to run into for Patrick Swayze with that.
After that explosion. Well, and then like Patrick Swayze and Sam Elliott, like that. What was Sam's Garrett, right?
Yeah,
yeah. And that when he like dies, and it's very, it's again it gets you that level of Patrick's acting,
Oh yeah, definitely.
And Sam's acting too. Like it's very heartfelt, a lot more than what we saw in.
It was Tails.
Yeah, it was in the last movie in Point Break.
Absolutely.
Well, and also it's set up like Sam Elliott set up that. I mean, they obviously had a relationship, but like when he shows up and he's like, "Fuck this town, let's just get out of here and move on." Like you don't need to save these people. Let's get the fuck out of here. And then he ends up dying, and Patrick Swayze's like, "This is all my fault." His character's like, "This is all my fault." That's when he gets really pissed off. You're like, all right, shit's about to happen now.
Yeah, certainly the action in that scene after the house blows up is pretty awesome and brilliantly captured. Where Dalton like flies through the air and like knocks Jimmy off his bike. Then you have this really brutal fight, really well done with spinning kicks. I love a spinning kick.
Who does it?
But I did not expect Dalton, as you said, Chase, to like rip the guy's throat out. I was like, they mentioned that he's done it before, but I thought that was just like a story, that people have heard, to big him up. They actually show it. I was like, wow, that's awesome.
And with such like beautiful ease, like it was like, this is not. It's not like he's just like grabbing the guy's throat and pulling it out. Like it's a Tai Chi move that he knows how to just like yoink. Like he's like unplugging a USB. Like it's.
Yeah, unplugging his Adam's apple.
And I like how she's a doctor. She goes over like she's going to be able to save him.
Yeah.
You got his throat, Dalton.
I can put it back.
Get me a needle and thread.
Yeah. What's your favorite scene for you, Dwayne?
It was that fight scene.
Yeah,
for sure.
Directing score for me then. Yeah, I really like this. Is it better than Point Break? Oh, I'm not sure. But I just like the ambition here. And I kind of just like the varying tones of the fights that they go with here. Certainly in the beginning, it's definitely done for humor, and then it just gets more brutal and crazy as it goes along. Really well captured, the fights. Yeah, it's pretty solid. So I'll go like an 8.4 for me. How about you guys?
Yeah, so it's interesting because I mean I think that they really drew out some really excellent performances. You know, like I mentioned in the last one, I love character actors and things.
Yeah.
And so like everybody in this, besides basically Swayze and Lynch, are just like, you know, character actors, and some of them not even actors, like John Healy and everything. And I think that they were able to pull out incredible performances from them, which you know, I think the director has a lot to do with, probably. But yeah, the way it's shot, the way it's put together, it's not quite as slick as some of the parts of like Point Break, but all in all, it's also kind of less noticeable in a way that it should be, right? Like, it's very difficult to put those fight scenes and choreograph those fight scenes and shoot them in that way, which is something that, you know, the last one couldn't do. So I think I would give it like an 8.6.
Yeah. And I feel like with these fight scenes, like certainly this era in the 80s, 90s, that you'd be tempted to just kind of over direct it and over edit it. But I don't feel that here. I feel like they're really trusting the actors to do their thing, which is more of like what you would see now. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do you agree with that, Dwayne?
I was gonna 8.6 fine. I was gonna say 8.7, but
I'll take 8.7. We can go 8.7.
8.7?
Yeah.
Cool. Right, screenplay then. You know, I love how the film like bigs up Dalton, that he's this like incredible like tough guy. You don't really see him in action at all in the first half of the film, in the first hour. Then when like the action does happen, when Pat, I think, wants his job back and like whips out a knife in the office, you know, Dalton does what you would expect and takes them out, but not as smoothly as you think, as he kind of, as they tumble over a few rails, which certainly looked like it hurt. Then I liked kind of the scene in the hospital when he refuses like a general anesthetic, when like the doctor staples up his wound. But I loved his kind of answer to the question, do you ever win a fight? And he says, nobody wins a fight, implying that he hates getting involved in fights, even though he knows he's pretty much always going to win. He'll fight if he absolutely has to. So he never like seeks out a fight. So I like that about his character. Then as the film goes on, you certainly see that philosophy kind of start to peel away and fade away.
I think also there's like small stuff in this movie when like, you know, he drives that Mercedes into town and then he buys a crappy car.
Yeah.
And then he's buying 4 tires that I don't know how he fit them in the trunk, but they fit in the trunk. And I'm like, what is all this for? Like, this doesn't make sense, right? But then he comes out and all his tires were slashed. And I'm like, okay, it paid off.
He knew what was going to happen. Yeah. This is not his first time.
Yeah, this is not his first rodeo.
But there's little stuff like that throughout the film that kind of show they make his character who he is. Like, there's a reason for everything he's doing, you know?
Yeah.
I want you to be nice until it's time to not be nice.
Yeah, that was cool. But yeah,
pain don't hurt.
Yeah,
pain don't hurt.
I just love the fact that there's almost this myth building with Dalton's character in the first half hour or so, and like as I said before, like the action is certainly done for humor in the beginning for me, and it's just really interesting how like embroiled he gets into this town. Like he likes everyone in this town, and he recognizes very quickly that Wesley is the bad guy here, that he owns everyone, and he just can't let that drop. And yeah, it's just really interesting how this very steely, like untouchable nature of his starts to fade throughout the film.
Yeah, and even like without really going into it, like you get the backstory of Garrett and him, and like how like they know each other and like they're very close, but like they don't have to spend a lot of time explaining it, you know?
Yeah.
And Garrett's got a bunch of great lines too. I mean, there's a lot of great lines in this movie, but I just think that, you know, it plays out very nicely. And like the stuff blowing up and the people who die and the things like that are very much earned by to the point where he pulls out the guy's throat and you're not like, that's dumb. You're like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
If a polar bear falls on a guy, you're not like, what are you doing? You're like, yeah, get him, you polar bear.
Yeah.
So like it's a very well put together script for being as just wild as it is.
Because like when we get to that crazy polar bear moment, like it works because Brad Wesley feels like he owns this town, and if the film has established that pretty well for this character, and you, even before you enter the house and see all these stuffed animals, like you can definitely tell this guy is super wealthy. Yeah.
Although taxidermy, they're not. For those who haven't watched it, they're not stuffed animals. They are animals that are stuffed. But it's not a bunch of teddy bears. It is a real polar bear that has been like hunted and mounted.
Yeah. The word.
I would like to see the remake of this where the guy has just giant stuffed animals everywhere. I have
stuffed toys.
I have an addiction of going to carnivals and playing all the games.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they might do. They did remake it, so I've not seen the remake, so could be there. I kind of found like the Memphis backstory with Dalton, that he killed someone in his past, really interesting. You know, Wesley uses it to kind of goad Dalton into doing something stupid, and like when Sam Elliott comes into the story, he kind of uses he reminds Dalton of the Memphis story to make him walk away. Like there's nothing really like keeping him here other than his own conscience. So, you know, I like the fact that also the details are never really revealed about what actually happened. Because I feel like in a modern movie, there would be some sort of flashback scene or a monologue scene where they go in detail about what actually happened. So I kind of just like that they use this story as a sort of a push and pull emotionally for this character in Dalton.
Yeah, and he's got a degree in philosophy.
Yeah,
it's like who the hell is this guy?
Yeah. Did you kind of like that aspect of the story, Dwayne, that they don't really actually reveal the Memphis story? Detail?
I mean, I think it adds to his character that there is this kind of mystery about him, and is this stuff true or is it just made up shit to make him seem cool? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So again, that reveal when he actually rips the guy's throat out, you're like, oh, it's not just a story. You can actually do it.
Yeah,
but it definitely suits his character. Like he's kind of a loner, right? So he's not going to tell everybody his life story. So it definitely works with his character.
Well, it's not personal. That's what he tells you. Somebody calls you a cocksucker. It's not personal. How is that not personal?
Be nice. Always be nice.
I like when they first start implementing that, and the guys are like, and he's like,
yeah. Yeah, I feel like they're not nice very quickly in this film towards the end. Yeah, perfect time to talk about lines then. I've got a bunch. Some really quite wild ones for me. A lot of very sexual orientated ones. Like near the beginning, a dude is literally hitting on Denise, I think. And he says, "Hey, vodka rocks, what do you say you and me get nipple to nipple?" I'm like, whoa! Did he just say that? You're getting a punch in the face later.
It's like, you got an ass too nice to have brains like that, or whatever that line is.
Oh, yeah. That girl's got entirely too many brains to have an ass like that.
Yeah. That's what Or, you want to fight, dickless? Well, I sure ain't going to show you my dick.
That is my favorite, actually.
I'll get plenty of sleep when I'm dead. Sam Elliott's a badass.
He's so cool, yeah.
Yeah, when Dalton, it was take the biggest guy in the world, shatter his knee, and he'll drop like a stone.
Yeah, that's cool. I heard you had balls big enough to come in a dump truck, but you don't look like much to me. Remember that blonde? Whew. She could suck star to Harley.
Or
gal's got entirely too many brains to have an ass like that.
Yeah.
You play pretty good for a blind boy. Blind kid. And then the blind kid goes, and I thought you'd be bigger.
So many good ones.
Yeah.
Screenplay score for me, then, I really like it. Like the lines, some of these lines are literally like laugh out loud funny for me. You certainly wouldn't hear a lot of these lines today. So I, that's what I like about that. Also, it certainly kind of creeps up on you that this is basically a Western in disguise for me, just set in the 80s. I just love that aspect of it. This sort of drifter type character, or this character like Dalton, where he's being hired to clean up this town, but instead of literally just cleaning up a town, it's cleaning up a bar. I just love that simple concept here, and they really just work around that to make it like just a really awesome action film that's sort of low stakes and yet feels super emotional for Dalton's character towards the end. Like, it's not like really dramatic for us. I was never like weeping or feeling ridiculously emotional, certainly when Sam Elliott dies. It's sad, but I'm like, you're still like in for the ride for this film. Like, it's not necessarily just a plot point when Sam Elliott dies, but you can certainly feel, Patrick Swayze's pain. But yeah, I was never getting teary, but that's not a big criticism. That's just kind of the tone that this film is established, and it works really well. And I just like this false sense of security sort of thing, where you sort of have this very serious tone with Dalton's character, but you kind of have when he first enters this bar, you have this backdrop of comedy with these kind of ridiculous fights, and then the comedy kind of just like fades away, and it becomes a bit more serious and more dramatic, but then kind of just very action dramatic. And yeah, it's just a very, very unique film, and I'm here for it. I will go like an 8.7 for me. I really enjoyed it.
I mean, I think 8.7 is not bad, but you got to give it at least 0.3 for more than that for the throat rip, and then another 0.5 for bad guys wear underwear and good guys don't. So I think a 9.5. I don't know. What do you think?
Wow, that's high.
Explosions.
So 9.6. Okay.
Yeah. But actually, like you were saying though, like the tonalness of it, that first explosion is when like you first see the shift in the tone. Like, yeah, like they physically made the tone change. You know what I mean? Like, that's when Dalton realized, like, oh, this isn't just a bad guy in town. This is a really bad guy. Yeah, in town.
I mean, that's where it becomes. It's not about the bar. It's about saving the soul of this town. That's where you get that Western, even the Yojimbo, sort of Akira Kurosawa stuff, samurai.
So what are we saying? 9.5, 9.6?
Yeah. 9 point what, Dwayne?
Well, we said 6, but whatever.
Yeah, 9.5 is fine.
Okay. Right, acting then. I kind of love the introduction to Patrick Swayze's character in this film from an acting point of view. And he's just like the coolest cat in the bar. These guys are like causing trouble at this table with a girl, and they literally kick her off the table, and the bouncers come to sort them out. And Swayze comes over with this stern yet cool as a cucumber look on his face, and you're like, yeah, he could fuck these guys up if he wanted to. Then you literally feel afraid for the guy that cuts him with a knife, and Swayze doesn't even flinch. Then you're like, oh god, something's going to go down here. Then when they go out and you see Patrick Swayze's trousers, and you're like, oh, okay. He doesn't look so tough now. But later in the next scene,
his pleated pants, and they always make sure he's like the smallest guy in the bar too.
Yeah. But later in the next scene, in like the really rowdy bar where the band is like shielded behind a cage, a fight breaks out, as we said, and literally like a bottle is thrown at Swayze where he's kind of leaning up against this post, and it smashes right next to his head, and Swayze just turns his head quickly like nothing happened. That was just really, really cool acting from him, just to create this very brilliant tough guy persona to begin with.
It's like a subtle toughness, right? He's tough by not doing anything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's the opposite of what you would think a tough guy would be.
Yeah, a lot of great like subtlety in those opening moments for sure.
Yeah, and then you got Sam Neill in there. I mean, I keep saying Sam Neill, Sam Elliott. Could not be more different people. Sam Neill and Sam Elliott. Although I would
from
love
New Zealand,
both of them. Maybe they're but
maybe.
Yeah, Sam Elliott is awesome. And like I said,
I was a bit taken aback though that he doesn't have a ginormous mustache.
Yeah, this is like the one that he doesn't have that.
Yeah. I was like, whoa, are you sure that's Sam Elliott?
But he's got long hair and a cool beard. Come on.
Yeah, he does.
It's still gray though. For some
even
one of those people that have been gray forever.
Yeah.
Actually, they even called him old man at one point, right?
Yeah.
He was probably like 32. So like I don't know how old Sam Elliott is now, but
yeah, old. Yeah, I just really like kind of the charm as well that he brings, especially with that kind of little dance scene with, I forget her name now, but the doctor character, the love interest.
Yeah, Kelly Lynch.
Kelly Lynch. That was kind of really sweet, a sweet moment in the film where you can kind of sort of chill for a bit and just hang out with these characters.
Yeah, especially after things are about to get intense, so you have to have that calm before the storm kind of thing.
Mm.
And we gotta have something more that we can feel. Everybody needs to get attached to.
Corey does.
Garrett. Yeah.
Ben Gazzara as Brad Wesley brings great asshole energy for me. With Bald Head. He always seems to have a smile on his face and feels confident in like every situation he's faced with. He's such a great like hissable character. Again, like just so satisfying when he gets killed. You just really want to just wipe that smug smile off his face in every scene.
yeah. He's so somebody has got to punch the crap out of this guy.
Yeah. What did you make of Ben Gazzara, Dwayne?
Yeah, I mean, again, it's weird that they made him so intimidating, but physically, he's not an intimidating guy. But there's something within his acting that like made you be like, "There's something wrong with this guy." Like, why are people afraid of this guy? It doesn't make sense. But then you kind of see what he does, and it makes sense,
Yeah, I think it's just kind of, I mentioned it in directing, I think, where like the fight between Swayze and Ben Gazzara isn't the best, but it certainly from a physicality point of view, but certainly emotionally, it definitely works, certainly with his acting. Because I was always thinking when I was watching this that the final like showdown fight would be between like Patrick Swayze and Jimmy. Because obviously when they fight, that's a very unexpected fight for me. That kind of just happens when you think you're going to get like a heart-to-heart scene with Lynch. So yeah, I think ultimately that last fight does work with Ben Gazzara, but emotionally I think they get it right for sure.
I agree.
The only other note I had was like Patrick Swayze is brilliant when like Sam Elliott dies. Like he can't kind of sort of control his emotions anymore at this point in the film. Then from then on, he's prepared. You feel like he's prepared to kill everyone that he needs to kill.
They made it personal.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, if this is all the stuff he's doing when it's not personal, you messed up.
That's where the Rambo comes in, man.
Yeah, exactly.
He's like, I just want to be left alone.
Yeah,
like
so
every Rambo movie is that. He's just like, hey man, just leave me alone. I just want to be left alone. And then he just fucks with them and he kills them all.
Yeah. I know they kind of work this in, certainly from a screenplay point of view, but I think certainly most of it is through his acting, this whole idea that, he's a very cool, like, unflappable character, and with everything that's going on, like, that exterior definitely is peeled away, and you just feel like you're just left with, like, pure, raw emotion from his acting towards the end in that last 20 minutes or so. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Patrick Swayze's really good in this for me.
Well, and like we said, even the fight scenes, there was stuff in, like, each person wasn't like a great fighter or anything. Like they had their, like, you knew they were just some dude that got a job as a bouncer and didn't know what the fuck he was doing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's even in the fight scenes is great acting.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's why they wanted them all to do their own stunts and stuff, because then you could get the better shots, and then you can still have that acting moment even during a fight. So, which is not easy.
Favorite performance, guys? Who are we going for?
I mean,
come on, we all know.
Yeah, it's Swayze.
Silly question, Martin.
Yeah.
Yeah, Patrick Swayze again for me.
But I mean, you got Sam Elliott. I mean, I don't think there was really anybody that bad in this movie, honestly.
No, I don't think so. Acting score for me, is Patrick Swayze better in this than Point Break? I would say so.
Yeah.
Personally, I mean, he's in pretty much nearly every scene in this, I guess. And with Point Break, you have to wait like 30 minutes, and he's technically not the lead of that film, even though he certainly feels like he is, as we've said. Yeah. But yeah, as you say, Dwayne, there's something to be said about how kind of good and natural these fights do feel like. And as we said before, like, you know, the director isn't like overdoing it with the direction. There is certainly an element that feels like they're letting the actors do their thing with the fights to make it feel as natural as possible. So yeah, and like Ben Gazzara is fucking good as the main villain. Really, really great. So I will go an 8.6.
You love that 8.6.
Yeah.
Or I guess all of us do.
Yeah.
Dwayne, I've gone first every time. Why don't you go first, and then we'll
8.6. No. Probably around there though. I would go probably 8.8.
Okay, I'm good with that.
Sure.
Yeah.
8.8. Right, let's add up the scores then for Roadhouse. Yep, Roadhouse gets a fairly impressive 52.7.
Wow.
Which beats out Point Break, crash lands into the cliffs of Australia from a spinning kick from Dalton.
He's not coming back.
Cool, yeah. Point Break gets 46.6 and unfortunately loses this one. I lose again, people.
Hey! That's 2 for me.
Yeah. Chase is 2-0. Right, next episode, as a little movie called Gladiator 2 is out. We are talking Ridley Scott films 2. And we've covered quite a few Ridley Scott films on the podcast. So we might be talking about probably maybe one we've covered already. I don't know. We haven't decided what the films are yet, but that should be a really interesting one. And we'll have guests again for that one, of course. Another returning guest from the Movie Boners, Dustin and Jake. They're always a lot of fun, so do check that one out. Guys, you have been amazing, Dwayne and Chase. This is your opportunity again to talk about your podcast, and where can we find you?
Yes, the podcast. So the Movie Gap is still out there. Yep. We're on a small hiatus right now, but we're going to come back probably in January with a new season. But awesome. Right now we are releasing, and we just started releasing our new podcast, Asked by Aliens. That's with me, Dwayne, and another loyal family or another fan favorite guest that's been on the Movie Gap a lot. If anybody's listened to it, it's AP Stark. So it's really, really funny. It's really, really weird, and check it out. I think you'll enjoy it. Did you want to say anything about it, Dwayne? That's available everywhere and on crossthestreamsmedia.com.
There you go.
That's it. You gotta brand it, right?
Yep, you got to get that branding in there.
Yeah.
No, it has been a real lot of fun, and it started as a little project that Chase and I had an idea like a year and a half ago, 2 years ago.
Oh no, it was like pre-pandemic.
Really?
Was it
or maybe
long?
During the pandemic or something. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So it's been something we've been working on for a while. So
awesome.
It's great to see it coming to fruition.
Awesome. It is time to say goodbye, people. I know it's very sad, very sad. It is goodbye from Dwayne. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
It is goodbye from Chase. Bye-bye.
Goodbye, y'all.
And it is goodbye from me. I'm going to go grab some baby oil and see what happens. Bye-bye. That's it for part 2. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. Check out part 1 if you haven't done so already. But don't stop there. Get involved and tell me what your favourite films are relating to the episodes. Send us a DM or comment on Instagram and TikTok at Film vs. Film Podcast, for X at FVF_podcast. Plus, we are now on YouTube, so hit that like button and comment there. If you do, I'll give you a shout out on the next episode. Remember, please leave us a 5-star review and subscribe. Pod signing off.